Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. Today, I'm giving a lecture via video. I believe this is the most effective method for our fasting period. I was worried that if I give an online lecture, you will fall asleep throughout. With video lecture, you can watch them anytime, anywhere. Of course, only when you're ready and fully awake. Today, I'm going to explain theories that can be used in adult learning. This topic will be divided into two sections: general theories that can be used in adult learning and theories related to motivation in adult learning. Adult learning theories emphasize concrete behavioral change and learning experience. Prior to the 1950s, learning was almost exclusively oriented toward behavioral change. The strong influence of the exact science at the time, which demand empirical object in learning, led learning theories to almost always target measurable and observable behavioral change. There are two major theories in learning which also apply to adult learning. They call behaviorism and constructivism. Behaviorists believe that learning must be observable with tangible and measurable results, and not oriented toward internal human activity. Therefore, the learning process and content can always be controlled by regulating environment stimuli, not as an independent effort of the part of the learner. So we can manipulate the environment. And then constructivists, on the other hand, believe in personal activity in learning. Learning occurs as a result of the learner's activity effort to observe, interpret, and internalize information, thus becoming their personal knowledge. Now, I will explain each of these two theories one by one. Behavioral theories emphasizes the formation of behavior. They believe that behavior can be shaped through measurable and observable stimuli response mechanisms. Complex learning simply results from difference in the pattern of relationship between stimuli and response. The more complex learning, the more complex the relationship between stimuli and response. Reinforcement plays a crucial role in the learning process. We can manage reward and punishments to modify the learning process, which ultimately influence the result uh, of the behavior. One of the most well-known theories of behaviorism is operant conditioning. According to operant conditioning, behavior is shaped by changing the effect of the relationship between stimuli and responses. For a strong relationship between stimuli and responses to develop, stimuli must elicit a rewarding, useful, or effective response. Effective response can be reinforced. Reinforcement maintains the relationship between stimuli and response. This pattern of stimuli-response relationships can be simple with only one stimuli and one response. However, in reality, the learning process can be more complex, involving multiple stimuli or more complex response. The relationship between operant conditioning and adult learning, as I explained previously, is that behaviorism theory allows adults to learn with tangible object and produce observable and measurable behavior. The aligns with the characteristic of adult learning, which requires tangible change and immediate benefits. Therefore, in adult learning, information must be organized in such a way that learners receive specific, measurable stimuli with impact that are easier to evaluate and manipulate. Now, I will discuss constructivist theory. Although behaviorism plays a significant role in a measurable learning, it cannot explain repeat learning processes, especially within the learner, such as the insight mechanism that emerge within the learner. Constructivists believe that learning is an individual process. Understanding and knowledge are built gradually through the learner's active effort. It's so different, very different with the behaviors. Behaviors believe learning process depend on uh, the environment, depend on another person that manipulate the environment. Constructivists believe learning is continuous. Learners acquire new information to integrate with the previous knowledge. This process allows knowledge to develop continuously throughout the learning process. In learning process, Piaget introduced the concept of adaptation, which consists of assimilation and accommodation. Maybe you still remember about the assimilation and accommodation, or think for a while that you can recall your knowledge about assimilation and accommodation. I hope so. I hope you still remember about that. Assimilation is a learning process where incoming information needs to be adjusted because it doesn't align with what we already know. Therefore, the information needs to manage or modify. Conversely, accommodation is changing our existing knowledge to accommodate new information. The relationship between constructivism theory and adult learning. As I explained previously, knowledge is continuously formed as new information interact with existing knowledge. Individuals will modify incoming information to adapt it to accept it, or they will modify their existing knowledge to align with the new information. Instructor must manage the information presented, allowing for this equilibrium to occur, which activities learners' adaptation efforts, namely accommodation and assimilation. For example, if I ask the question, are penguin birds? Learners will attempt to use their knowledge of various birds' characteristics and combine it with their observation of penguins. The answer to this question is a continuous activity of accommodation and assimilation until equilibrium is reached. The impact or influence of behaviorism and constructivism theories on adult learning programs. Behaviorism theory contributes to explaining declarative knowledge in the form of objective response. However, behaviorism is unable to explain the process by which individuals acquire complex knowledge, such as problem solving, critical thinking, or decision making. Behaviorism strategies can be applied to shape response patterns through training. Constructivism, on the other hand, encourages students or learners to discover insight and develop principles. Constructivism strategies can be applied to build rational learning. Learners are facilitated to actively develop knowledge. In fact, two main theories, they are behaviorism, which is based on behaviorism, and constructivism, which is based on cognitive theory, are sufficient to explain the learning process, including adult learning. So I think that the two main theories, behaviorism and constructivism, is enough for us to explain about the adult learning, but I will give you the alternative theory. It is positive psychology. This theory was initiated by Seligman and Csikszentmihalyi. They define positive psychology as the study of human strengths, focusing on experience, individual traits or disposition, and uh, interpersonal or group activity. Example for experience like well-being, happiness, satisfaction, flow, and so on. And the example of individual trait or disposition, like forgiveness, patience, humor, creativity, spirituality, wisdom, hope, love, etc. And the third example of interpersonal or group virtues, uh, like sense of community, civility, or altruism, conformity, etc. The positive psychology theory is suitable for self-development on the strength, potential, or skill already possessed by adult as a learner. The positive psychology theory is suitable for self-development based on the strength, potential, or skill already possessed by adult learner. By emphasizing strength based on self-development, we can create a balance between academic outcomes, regulation needs, and student self-esteem. This effort of the positive psychology theory will enhance motivation, creativity, and self-determination in adult education program. By identifying student strengths, the learner's orientation will be more focused on developing their strength rather than solely focusing on their weakness. As I explained earlier, positive psychology introduces ways to positively address strength and weakness. Weakness are an inevitable part of every human being. However, by focusing on strength, each learner will gain more energy to make their weakness irrelevant. In this second session, I will explain motivation theory, which also plays a role in adult learning. Essentially, the learning process is simple. Change occurs due to two possible factors: push factors and pull factors. A person will strive to fulfill their needs, acting as push factors, in order to achieve their goals, acting as pull factors. To accommodate push factor toward pull factors, modification and motivation can be made. This is the theory of operant conditioning, which can also function as a theory of motivation. It relates to the reinforcement theory within the concept of operant conditioning. When behavior is reinforced, for example, with a reward, the stimulus and response become more strongly associated. As a result, the same response will be repeated when the same stimulus occurs. I think we can skip this theory since I've already explained it. Motivation involves three components. They are the individual, behavior, and the environment. Individuals are influenced by their environment, which leads to certain behavior. This process demonstrates the transformation of energy from a driving force to actual behavior. This type of energy change necessarily involves motivations. This is a simple illustration of the process of movement or locomotion. Individuals receive a push and move toward a pull, as I explained earlier. Therefore, experts typically categorize psychology into push psychology and pull psychology. I'm sure you're familiar with Abraham Maslow's motivational theory. This image shows Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I just want you to avoid misinterpreting this hierarchy of needs. Its needs doesn't necessarily produce different behavior. The same behavior can be driven by different needs. Take, for example, the activity of eating. One person might eat to fulfill a biological needs, where food is used to survive or satisfy hunger. Meanwhile, another person might eat driven by the need for nutrition, so the body can grow and avoid the danger of disease. Others might eat to build relationships and love. For example, eating with a partner, with a boy or girlfriend. Okay, I hope you understand it. Another side, maybe somebody eating can also be aimed at fulfill the need for self-esteem. For example, when we want to want to dining at a fancy restaurant, maybe. Meanwhile, some people might eat based on certain principles, such as only eating halal food or only eating at sunset or maghrib. Is the case with uh, uh, your fasting, you're in the fasting period. What are the motivational implications for behavioral performance? How motivation influence learning and behavior? Motivation direct behavior towards specific goals. So when you have the purpose, the motivation will push you to reach, to grab the goals. And the second motivation, increase effort and energy. When you have motivation, your energy will focus, will synergy to reach the goal. Motivation increases initiative and persistence toward activities. Motivation make you have initiative to do something, and then you persistent in your activities, in your effort to reach the goal. And the fourth, motivation influence cognitive process. When you have motivation, your cognitive will be focused to the particular activity or to reach the certain goal. And the fifth, motivation determines which consequences are reinforcing and which are punishing. When you have motivation, your motivation will be defined. Which behavior will be rewarding effect, and which behavior, in other said, will be the punishing effect. So when behavior effective, it will strengthen your motivation. Will strengthen your motivation. And the sixth, motivation increase successful performance. When you have motivation, it will be the parameter, parameter. Uh, so you can say you will succeed or not after you do the efforts, uh, because you have motivation uh, to force yourself to the goal, so you can evaluate everything what you done, bring you to the goal. Six principle of deep targets motivation. Class assignment influence motivation. So we have to arrange uh, assignment that we give to the class, to the students. So when we give the assignment too high, the student will feel discomfort or feel disabled to do that. Or when we too low give assignment, the student might be poor. The second, the amount of autonomy a student has influence motivation. So we have to give the autonomy for student doing their way. So they believe that they are able to do to reach the goal. And the third, the amount and form of recognition student receive influence motivation. And the fourth, classroom grouping procedure influence motivation. So we can arrange, when we will make the group, we can arrange that the group combine of the several students with the various ability, with the various strength. And fifth, the form of evaluation influence motivation. We have to make evaluation that may be balanced between appreciation and critique. And then the sixth, how teachers schedule time, systematic delivery of material influence motivation. So the teacher can arrange the reinforcement maybe, or can make the long segment to be short, some short segment. Now we will discuss about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. The big question is, which one is better? Maybe of you think that the intrinsic's better because it's come out from the inside, or you will think the extrinsic is better because somebody do something to particular object, to particular purpose. We don't know. You will know until you watch the following video.
I want to make a case for rethinking how we run our businesses. Take a look at this. This is called the candle problem. And here's how it works. I bring you into a room. I give you a candle, some thumbtacks, and some matches. And I say to you, your job is to attach the candle to the wall so the wax doesn't drip onto the table. And eventually, after 5 or 10 minutes, most people figure out the solution, which you can see here. The key is to overcome what's called functional fixedness. You look at that box and you see it only as a receptacle for the text, but it can also have this other function as a platform for the candle. Now, I want to tell you about an experiment using the candle problem done by a scientist named Sam Glucksberg. He gathered his participants and he said, I'm going to time you how quickly you can solve this problem. He offered rewards. He said, if you're in the top 25% of the fastest times, you get $5. If you're the fastest of everyone we're testing here today, you get $20. How much faster did this group solve the problem? Answer. It took them on average 3.5 minutes longer. 3.5 minutes longer. Now, this makes no sense, right? If you want people to perform better, you reward them, right? Bonuses, commissions, their own reality show, incentivize them. You've got an incentive designed to sharpen thinking and accelerate creativity, and it does just the opposite. These contingent motivators, if you do this, then you get that, work in some circumstances, but for a lot of tasks, they actually either don't work or often they do harm. Think about your own work. Are the problems that you face, or even the problems we've been talking about here, are those kinds of problems where they have a clear set of rules and a single solution? No, those if-then rewards don't work. Economists at LSE looked at 51 studies of pay-for-performance plans inside of companies. Here's what the economists there said. We find that financial incentives can result in a negative impact on overall performance. There's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does. And here's what science knows. 1, those 20th century rewards, those motivators we think are the natural part of business, do work, but only in a surprisingly narrow band of circumstances. 2, those if-then rewards often destroy creativity. 3, the secret to high performance isn't rewards and punishments, but that unseen intrinsic drive, the drive to do things for their own sake, the drive to do things because they matter. I rest my case.
Intrinsic motivation is best suited for workers who work with the concept and require creativity. These are often referred to as white collar workers. Meanwhile, extrinsic motivation is best suited for technical workers who adhere to standard procedures. These are often referred to as blue-collar workers. Blue-collar worker because the collar is always dirty because the work is so technical. Therefore, strengthening intrinsic or extrinsic motivation can be done according to the type of work performed. Okay, it's enough. Thank you. If you have any questions, please write them in the comment section below the video. Next, you need to complete the assignment by fulfill Next, you need to complete the assignment by filling out the training master plan. You can download on Psyche. Next week's classes will be held asynchronously. Use the time to find theories that align with your planned training needs. You can find 2 types of theories, those related to the training content. For example, if the training is about improving reading skills, you should look for theories about reading. And additionally, you also need to find theories about the methods you will use in the training. So there are 2 kinds of theory that you have to find. 1, theory about content of your planned training, and the second theory about the method. I will create a project folder in Psyche. You can submit a summary of the theories you have created there. This will serve as a substitute for attended science. I think that's enough for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.